things we ask in thy name. Amen.
So mote it be.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time I would like to introduce distinguished guests. If the Grand Lodge officers would stand when I call your name. We have committee officers Weddle on the Appeals and Grievance Committee of the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge of Ancient Free and Accepted Masons of the State of Oklahoma. We have Worshipful Michael Maxey, District Deputy Grandmaster of District 12 of the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge of Ancient Free and Accepted Masons of the State of Oklahoma. We have the Worshipful Ron Schoaf, Junior Grand Deacon of the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge. We have Worshipful John Alexander, Grand Treasurer of the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge. We have Worshipful Ridge Smith, Junior Grand Warden. Right Worshipful Ridge Smith, Junior Grand Warden of the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge. And we have Right Worshipful Ron Chambers, Deputy Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of the State of Oklahoma. Welcome these distinguished guests. At this time, I'd also like to thank the Broken Arrow Rainbow number 74 and Broken Arrow Demolay for assisting us with our dinners. Time, I'd like to introduce the installing officers. Installing the Worshipful Master will be Right Worshipful Ronald Jack Chambers. Installing the Senior Warden will be Right Worshipful Ronald Jack Chambers. Installing the Junior Warden, Right Worshipful Ronald Jack Chambers. Installing the Treasurer, Worshipful Joseph Lynch. Thank you. Installing the Secretary, Worshipful Stanley A. Johnson. Installing the Chaplain, Worshipful Daniel Anderson. Installing the Senior Deacon and Junior Deacon, Worshipful John Murs.
Thank you, Worshipful.
Installing the Senior Steward and Junior Steward, Worshipful Ray Whitley. Installing the Tyler, Worshipful Matt Logston. And the installing Marshal will be Worshipful Kenny Lewis. Kenneth Leah Lewis. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Right Worshipful Ron Chambers.
Thank you, Worshipful Master. It's an honor and a privilege for me to be here this evening. I've had the opportunity to install Delta Lodge since probably about 1998, six or seven, somewhere in that area. And it's always good to see everybody that comes out for the installation of officers that we have here. Especially nice to see all the ladies coming out this evening. This place smells a lot better when you all are here than it does when a bunch of old hairy-legged boys are here. But I really thank all of you for coming out this evening. And with that, we will get on with the installation. Brethren, we are about to install the officers of Delta Lodge number 425, Ancient Free and Accepted Masons of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Brother Secretary, read the names of the officers elected and appointed to govern this lodge, and the officers so named will form a semicircle west of the altar, taking position in order of rank, the Worshipful Master nearest the south.
Jason W. Posson, Robert Lewis Shore, Vernon Jackson Warford, Right Worshipful Ronald Jack Chambers. Worshipful W. Dale Weddle. Worshipful Kenneth Lael Lewis. Brother Bill Allen Knapp. Jeffrey Monroe Gray. Thomas Wesley Childs. Ryan Keith Short. Worshipful Kyle Anthony Hess.
Brethren, you hear, behold these brethren selected as officers of your lodge for the ensuing year, who now declare themselves ready for installation. If any brother knows of any just cause why any of the brethren should not be installed, let him make it known now. There being no objection, I shall now proceed. Brother Marshall, are you satisfied that the brother elected to be worshipful master of this lodge is well skilled in the noble science and royal art?
I am satisfied, worshipful master.
Brother Marshall, place our worshipful master elect at the altar, there to receive the benefit of prayer and to take his official obligation.
Process. You don't want to see him at your door, do you?
I'm going to take a moment here before I proceed and let you know that if you have a camera, you just walk around and take pictures any place that you would like. You won't bother us. We make just as many mistakes with you walking around as we do on our own. Thank you.
Most holy and glorious Lord God, we approach thee with reverence and implore thy blessing on this brother chosen to preside over this lodge and now prostrate before thee. Fill his heart with thy fear, that his tongue and actions may pronounce thy glory. Make him steadfast in thy service, grant him firmness of mind, animate his heart and strengthen his endeavors. May he teach thy judgments and thy laws and become thy true and faithful servant. Bless him, O Lord, and bless the work of his hands. Accept us in mercy. Hear thou our prayer and grant our earnest supplications. Amen.
So mote it be.
My brothers say aye.
Aye.
Pronounce your name
Jason Walter Posson.
and repeat after me. Of my own free will and accord,
Of my own free will and accord,
in the presence of Almighty God and this worshipful lodge,
in the presence of Almighty God and this worshipful lodge,
On the honor of a master mason.
sorry, I went blank there.
On the honor of a master mason.
That on the honor of a master mason,
that on the honor of a master mason,
that in the office to which I have been elected,
on the office which I have been elected,
I will, to the best of my ability,
I will, to the best of my ability,
support the Constitution and regulations
support the Constitution and regulations
of the most worshipful Grand Lodge
of the most worshipful Grand Lodge
of ancient free and accepted Masons
of ancient free and accepted Masons
of the state of Oklahoma.
of the state of Oklahoma,
The bylaws of Delta Lodge number 425
the bylaws of Delta Lodge number 425,
and all other ancient Masonic usages
and all other ancient Masonic usages,
so far as the same shall come to my knowledge.
so far as the same shall come to my knowledge.
My brother, in inducting you into your chair of office, I am performing a most pleasing duty. By immemorial usage and the irrevocable landmarks of Masonry, you are installed as worshipful master of this lodge, with powers and prerogatives which are of high importance and due solemnity. The good resolutions, which I doubt not you have formed in your own mind, that these powers shall not be abused or perverted by you, I would gladly strengthen by a word of admonition. The very consciousness of the possession of a great power will ever make a generous mind cautious and gentle in its exercise. To rule has been the lot of many, and requires neither strength nor intellect nor soundness of judgment. To rule well has been the fortune of but few, and may well be the object of an honorable ambition. It is not by the strong arm of the iron will that obedience and order, the chief requisites of good government, are secured, but by holding the key to the hearts of men. The office of worshipful master is of great antiquity and respect, and is one of the highest dignities to which we may aspire. It's incumbent to rule well and practice several important requisites. As a man, he should be of approved integrity and irreproachable morals, free from the dominion of hasty temper and ill-governed passions, of good repute in the world, and practicing as an example to his brethren the cardinal virtues of temperance, fortitude, prudence, and justice. As a citizen, he should be loyal to his government, obedient to its laws, prompt in the duties he owes to society, and a pattern of fidelity in all social and domestic relations. As a Mason, he should cling to the old landmarks and be sternly opposed to their infringement. Be desirous to learn and apt to teach. Be prompt to aid and relieve, and be ever mindful that though elevated for a time by his fellows, he is elevated by them, and should therefore cultivate everywhere and at all times the golden tenets of brotherly love, relief, and truth. As an officer, he should remember first of all that he is an individual Mason, sharing in that respect a common lot with his brethren, and therefore interested in the welfare of each and all. Be devoid of undue ostentation and haughty overbearing. Be accessible to all, cultivating the closest friendships and the most unlimited confidence of his associate officers. Be eager to take counsel with his brethren and ready to give it. Be ready to reward good. Be devoid of favoritism and wholly impartial. Such are some of the most important qualifications which a worshipful master should possess, and the errors he should avoid. It may be that most, if not all of us, have failed to reach those standards, but it is attainable, and be it your purpose to reach it, and be a bright and shining example to those who shall come after you. My brother, previous to your investiture, it is necessary that you should signify your assent to those ancient charges and regulations which point out the duty of a worshipful master of a lodge. You agree to be cautious in your behavior, courteous to your brethren, and faithful to your lodge. You promise to respect genuine brethren, and to discountenance impostors and all dissenters from the original plan of Masonry. You agree to promote the general good of society, to cultivate the social virtues, and to propagate the knowledge of the mystic art. You promise to pay homage to the most worshipful Grand Master for the time being, and to his officers when duly installed, and strictly to conform to every edict of the most worshipful Grand Lodge or General Assembly of Masons that is not subversive to the principles and groundwork of Masonry. You admit that it is not in the power of any man or body of men to make innovations in the body of Masonry. You promise a regular attendance on the committees and communications of the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge on receiving proper notice, and to pay attention to all duties of Masonry on convenient occasions. You admit that no new lodge shall be formed without permission from the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge, and that no countenance shall be given to any irregular lodge or to any person clandestinely initiated therein, being contrary to the ancient charges of Freemasonry. You admit that no person can be made a Mason or admitted a member of any regular lodge without previous notice and due inquiry into his character. You agree that no visitors shall be received into your lodge without due examination and satisfactory evidence of their having been initiated in a regular lodge. These are the regulations of free and accepted Masons. Do you submit to these charges and promise to support these regulations as worshipful masters have done in all ages before you?
I do.
Brother Posson, in consequence of your cheerful conformity to the charges and regulations of the ancient fraternity, you are now to be installed as worshipful master of Delta Lodge number 425, in full confidence of your care, skill, and capacity to govern the same. My brother, it is with pleasure I now invest you with the jewel of your office, the square. As the square is employed by operative masons to fit and adjust the stones of a building, that all its parts may properly agree, so you, as worshipful master of this lodge, are admonished by the symbolic meaning of the square to preserve that moral deportment among the members of your lodge which should always characterize good masons, and to exert your authority to prevent ill feeling and angry discussion arising to impair the harmony of its meetings. You will also receive the various implements used in your lodge, the holy writings. That great light of masonry will guide you to all truth. It will direct your paths to the temple of happiness and point out to you the whole duty of man. The square is the distinguishing jewel of your office. It is an instrument made use of by operative masons to square their work. But we, as free and accepted masons, making use of the tools of the operative craft as symbols for our moral instruction, are taught to make use of it for the more noble and glorious purpose of squaring our actions by the square of virtue and morality. The compasses enable the operative workman with accuracy and precision to determine the limits and proportions of the several parts of his work. As free and accepted masons, it teaches us to limit our desires in every station, that rising to eminence by merit, we may live respected and die regretted. The rule directs that we should punctually observe our duty, press forward in the paths of virtue, and neither inclining to the right nor to the left in all our actions have eternity in view. The line teaches us the criterion of moral rectitude, to avoid dissimulation in conversation and action, and to direct our steps to the path which leads to immortality. The Book of Constitutions. You are to search at all times. Cause it to be read in your lodge, that none may pretend ignorance of the excellent precepts it enjoins. You now receive in charge the charter by which the authority of this lodge is held. You are carefully to preserve it, and in no case should it ever be out of your immediate control, and duly transmitted to your successor in office. You will also receive in charge the bylaws of your lodge, which you are to see carefully and punctually executed. Brother Marshall, conduct the brother to the east.
I now seat you in the Oriental chair and cover you with that distinction which in this lodge it is alone yours to wear. I now present you your emblem of authority. It is the gavel. Use it wisely and justly, never in an arbitrary or unconstitutional manner. Masons only. You want to stand up?
Yes, sir.
You're part of this now. Worshipful Master, behold your brethren. Brethren, behold your worshipful Master. Let us salute him with the public grand honors. Okay, everybody may be seated except the officer standing right out there. My brethren, say I, pronounce your names, and repeat after me your official obligation. Most solemnly and sincerely promise and swear, on the honor of a Master Mason, that in the office to which I have been chosen, I will, to the best of my ability, aid the worshipful Master, as he may request me, in his conduct of this lodge, and strictly comply with and obey the Constitution, laws, and regulations of the most worshipful Grand Lodge of ancient, free, and accepted Masons of the state of Oklahoma, and that I will comply with and obey the bylaws of this lodge and the ancient Masonic landmarks and usages so far as the same shall come to my knowledge. You're up, Joe. Oh, I'm sorry. Brother Short, you are elected senior warden of this lodge and will now be invested with the jewel of your office. The level demonstrates that we are descended from the same stock, partake of the same nature, and share in the same hope. And though distinctions among men are necessary to preserve subordination, yet no eminence of station should make us forget that we are brethren. For he who is placed on the lowest spoke of fortune's wheel may be entitled to our regard, because a time will come, and the wisest knows not how soon, when all distinction but that of goodness shall cease, and death, the grand leveler of human greatness, reduce us to the same state. Your regular and punctual attendance is essentially necessary. In the absence of the worshipful Master, you are to govern this lodge. In his presence, you are to assist him in the government of it. Your fitness for the discharge of such important duties undoubtedly led to your selection for the office by your brethren, and it will be your duty and pleasure so to act as to justify their confidence. Look well to the west. Brother Marshall, conduct the brother to his station. Brother Warford, you are elected junior warden of
of this lodge and will now be invested with the jewel of your office. The plumb admonishes us to walk uprightly in our several stations, to hold the scales of justice in equal poise, to observe the just medium between intemperance and pleasure, and to make our passions and prejudices coincide with the line of our duty. To you, as committed the superintendents of the craft during the hours of refreshment, it is therefore indispensably necessary that you should not only be temperate and discreet in the indulgence of your own inclinations, but carefully observe that none of the craft to suffer to convert the purposes of refreshment into intemperance or excess. Your regular and punctual attendance is particularly requested, and we have no doubt that you will be ever watchful, whether at labor or at refreshment, that the high 12 of observation does not find you and that of the craft you superintend with your work unperformed. Look well to the south. Brother Marshall, conduct the brother to his station.
Brother Right Worshipful, Ronald Jack Tree, you are elected treasurer in this lodge and will now be invested with the jewel of your office. It is your duty to receive all lodge funds from the secretary, keep the correct record of the same, giving your receipt therefore. And pay the amount of the order of work master with the consent of the lodge. I trust your regard for the fraternity will prompt you in faithful discharge of the duties of your office. That your lodge will never be hindered in its work on benevolence. Brother Marshall, conduct the brother to his place.
Get up there the best you can.
One more time. Brother Weddle, you are elected secretary of this lodge and will now be invested with the jewel of your office. It is your duty to observe the proceedings of the lodge, keep a correct record of all things proper to be written, transmit a copy of the same to the right worshipful grand secretary when so required. Collect all monies due to the lodge and pay them over to the treasurer, taking his receipt therefore. Your good inclination, mastery in your lodge will induce you to discharge the duties of your office with fidelity, and by so doing, you will merit the esteem and applause of your brother. Brother Marshall, conduct the brother to his place.
Just do the best you can.
One more time.
Brother Kenneth Lewis, you have been appointed chaplain of this lodge, and will now be invested with the jewel of your office. That holy book which the chart contains your shed this benignant rays upon every lawful assembly of free and accepted maintenance. From we learn our duty to God, our neighbors, and ourselves. Teach us from this life-giving precepts, and you will have faithfully fulfilled your sacred and important trust. It is fitting that an emblem of the sacred volume should be the jewel of your office, with which I now invest you. To the marshal. Conduct him to his place. I know he will.
Brother Bill Knapp and Jeffrey Gray, you are appointed senior and you Deacon to this lodge. They will now be invested with you with your office. Place in your hand these rods, which will bear in the performance of official duty as symbols of your duty authority. It is your province to attempt on works master and Warden and act of your property and the active duties of this law, such as the reception of candidates into the different degrees of maintenance, the introduction and accommodation of visitors, and the immediate practice of our rights. The swear encompasses the badges of your office I entrust to your care, not doubt your business or opinion. You will repair to your respective places.
Brother, Congressman Rian, you are appointed senior and junior stewards to this lodge and will now be invested with the duties of your office. And I place in your hands these white rods which you will bear in the performance of official duty as symbols of your deputed authority. It is your duty to assist the senior deacon and other officers in the performance of their respective duties. You are to prepare candidates for the reception of the several degrees of nature. In the performance of which duty, allow your demeanor to be such as to indelibly impress upon your minds that these ceremonies are significance of due solemnity and designed to teach important lessons. Much depends upon your faithful discharge of this important duty. Your regular attendance will give us the best evidence of your respect and attachment to the lodge. You will now repair your respective places.
watch our lips, will stay sentinel on our actions, thereby enabling us to guard against the approach of every unworthy thought or deed, void of offense toward God or man. I trust in your regard for good order will prompt you to faithful performance of your duties. You will prepare for your faith.
Worshipful Master, the superintendents and government of the brethren who compose this lodge, having been committed to your care, you cannot be insensible of the obligations which devolve on you as their head, nor of your responsibility for the faithful discharge of the important duties incident to your election. The honor, reputation, and usefulness of your lodge will materially depend upon the skill and assiduity with which you manage its concerns, while the happiness of its members will be generally promoted in proportion to the zeal and ability with which you propagate the genuine principles of our institution. For a pattern of imitation, consider the great luminary of nature, which rising in the east regularly diffuses light and luster to all within a circle. In like manner, it is your province to spread and communicate light and instruction to the brethren of your lodge. Forcibly impress upon the brethren of your lodge the dignity and high importance of Masonry, and seriously admonish them never to disgrace it. Charge them to practice out of the lodge those duties which they have been taught in it, and by amiable, discreet, and virtuous conduct to convince mankind of the goodness of the institution, so that when a person is said to be a member of it, the world may know that he is one to whom the burdened heart may pour out its sorrow, to whom distress may prefer its suit, whose hand is guided by justice, and whose heart is expanded by benevolence. In short, by a diligent observance of the bylaws of your lodge, the constitutions of Masonry, and above all, the Holy Scriptures, which are given as a rule and guide to your faith, you will be enabled to acquit yourself with honor and reputation. For the senior and junior warden, you are too well acquainted with the principles of Masonry to warrant any distrust that you will be found wanting in the discharge of your respective duties. Suffice it to say that what you have seen praiseworthy in others, you should carefully imitate. And what in them may have appeared defective, you should in yourselves amend. You should be examples of good order and regularity. For it is only by a due regard to the laws in your own conduct that you can expect obedience to them from others. You are assiduously to assist the worshipful master in the discharge of his trust, diffusing light and imparting knowledge to all whom he shall place under your care. On the absence of the worshipful master, you will succeed to higher duties. Your requirements must therefore be such that the craft never suffer for want of proper instruction. From the spirit which you have hitherto evinced, I entertain that no doubt that your future conduct will be such as to merit the applause of your brethren and the testimony of a good conscience. Masons only. Brethren, such is the nature of our Constitution that as some of necessity rule and teach, so others, of course, must learn to submit and obey. Humility in both is an essential duty. The officers who are elected and appointed to govern your lodge are sufficiently conversant with the rules of propriety and the laws of the institution to avoid exceeding the powers with which they are entrusted. And you are of too generous a disposition to envy their preferment. I therefore trust that you will have but one aim, to please each other and unite in the grand design of being happy and communicating happiness. Finally, my brethren, as this association has been formed and perfected in so much unanimity and concord, in which we greatly rejoice. May it long continue. May you long enjoy every satisfaction and delight which disinterested friendship can afford. May kindness and brotherly affection distinguish your conduct as men and masons. Within your peaceful walls, may your children's children deliberate with joy and gratitude the annual recurrence of this auspicious solemnity. And may the tenets of our profession be transmitted through your lodge, pure and unimpaired, from generation to generation. From this happy prospect, I rest assured of your steady perseverance, and conclude with wishing you all, my brethren, the joy of your worshipful master, wardens, and other officers, and of your constitutional union as brethren. Brother Marshall, make your proclamation.
In the name of the most worshipful Grand Lodge, ancient, free, and accepted Masons of the state of Oklahoma, I proclaim the officers of Delta Lodge number 425 duly installed.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for being present this evening. Brethren, I'd like to thank you for your friendship and your brotherhood over the years. I look forward to 2013 being a very fun and successful year. I'd like to thank my family, and most of all, my lady Tammy Norris, sitting in the south over there. Would you please stand? For your constant love and support in all aspects of my life. I love you very much. Thank you. Also, I would like to introduce the officers for 2013, starting with Senior Warden Robert Short. Robert, would you like to introduce who you have with you this evening?
Yeah, my mom, Donna, my wife, Kim, my son Austin, and my son Dylan, and my MLA guy there, Michael Foley.
Next we have Vernon Warford, Junior Warden. Vernon, would you introduce who you have with you this evening?
And my lovely wife, Sutton, my son Blake, my daughter Krista, and her boyfriend Josh, and the last little daughter, Deanna.
Next we have our treasurer, Right Worshipful Ronald Jack Chambers.
Thank you, Worshipful Master. I have my lady Pam with me, and I guess John Alexander and Nancy. Everybody else, just thank you for coming to the party. Thank you.
Next we have our secretary, Walter Weddle.
Thank you, Worshipful Master. I'm by myself this evening. You're with all your family. Brought all my friends.
Senior Deacon, we have Mr. Bill Knapp.
Thank you, Worshipful. I'm here by myself, me and Dale's hanging out together.
And Junior Deacon, we have Mr. Jeff Gray.
Thank you. Yeah, my wife Deborah down there. I've got my mother Sally, my kids Abigail, Kayla, Jonathan, and Michael.
And Senior Steward, we have Mr. Tommy Childs.
I have my mom, Jean Childs, and my son, Wes.
And Junior Steward, we have Mr. Ryan Short.
Vernon, my wife Elena, and my son Aaron. He's the 6'4", 15-year-old out there that you'll see walking around. So that's what I brought tonight.
Brethren, could we bring in the Rainbow Girls and the Demolay?
Don't forget Tyler.
Oh,
You forgot your chaplain.
That's why
we all Also, we have our chaplain, Mr. Kenny Lewis.
There's Lawrence and Elena Jacobs. I didn't invite them, but I'm glad they're here.
Last but not least, we have our Tyler, Kyle Hess.
Thank you, Worshipful Master. I have my wife here, Angie.
Could the Rainbow Girls and Demolay please stand? Ladies and gentlemen, please give them a round of applause. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I think at this point we're going to wrap it up and have some dinner.
We want to have the officers up here for a picture real quick. You got, there was a second.
Yes, sir.
First master.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Also, would Worshipful Hess please come in here? Sorry, Kyle, I'm a mess this evening.
Give me that too.
All right.
Thank you, brethren. It was a pleasure.
Yes, sir. You have the floor.
If any of you honorable folks want to have a picture taken with your wife, your kids, your family, etc., come talk to me and I'll be happy to do that.
If we could have all the officers line up over here, please, for pictures right quick. Brother Chaplain, I'd like you to say a prayer real quick and then we're going to go have some dinner.
Shall we pray? Our Heavenly Father, we are thankful for those two slave officers. We ask that you be given the wisdom of Solomon, and they will go out their duties throughout this year, and they know the lives go forward. We're thankful for our past members that have gave so much to our lives. We ask your Lord that we go from here now and partake of food, that you, the fellowship that we have with one another, guide, guard, and direct in all that we do. We will give you all the praise. These things we ask in thy name. Amen.
So Lord, amen.
The officers.
Yeah. For Christmas. I'm Rich. Thank you very much, sir. All right, I'm gonna go feed the bride.
Oh, you are?
Wait, not gonna stay for the free food? Oh, well, that's important. Good. Make it any better. Yeah, I'll see you. You make it so much better than mine do. double stick tape behind it. It kept sliding around. Of course, I know what the deal was. Mine didn't come with a magnet. I had no magnet. They cheated me. Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't even get a magnet. Well, I had to go to my local. Yeah, because you got a space. I may have to do that.
There we go.
But I have a pocket. I have worn the badge here since 1966 when I joined the Army. Yeah, the Army wears their badge there too. Robert. Oh yeah, well but no, my pin on the badge is on this side. Pin on it. On your, sure doesn't say U.S. Army? I have to look at my fatigue, so I've still got them all. Yeah, my problem is my seatbelt rips it off, and I found it on the ground. Oh, the magnets. Yeah, well, they ran out. They ran out. I called them and said, hey, can I get a magnet? They ran out. The story was that, yeah, they had a whole bunch of magnets. Come to find out the girls ran out, so I had to buy mine back here. This is they're not as good. Anyway, so I use double stick. I got double stick tape on the back side of that thing, so it doesn't move around. Yes, she just had 4 bags. Just for fun. My wife actually gave me 8.
I got your bad side. You should have warned me about that. Well, actually, I do have that. I'm so important. I'm like, right. Alright, Cal, we'll see how that turns out.
Kyle.